Well, hello everybody, Mike here with Hardware Canucks, and welcome to the cool PC accessories and components that you may have never heard of, and yes, some of them that you've probably heard of. Dimitri's original video covered a bunch of cool things back a couple of years ago, and you can find that right up here. But this one is gonna be sort of with a little bit of a twist. First of all, every single one of these things is focused on two elements: affordability and practicality. The affordability standpoint, they're all under $35 US when I'm making this video. The other thing is the practicality aspect, and all of them I've used myself, so I can vouch for them. So if you want to know anything more about these, all of them are going to be linked in the description below, and you can buy them there. The other thing is I'm going to be putting timestamps on this video if you want to quickly jump from one item to another. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is probably the most simple out of all of these, and a lot of you guys actually turned me on to these. These are ultra simple right angle PCIe power adapters. Basically, they allow you to cleanly route power cables without any gnarly bends as they reach the GPU. I mean, sure, some of you might love having those nicely combed cables showing, but these are also super convenient for ITX builds where cable management can be so challenging. This one comes in a pack of 4 with 2 types of adapters, which can be used depending on which way your GPU's power connectors face, either with the clip upwards or downwards. There's also a black foam backer here too, and that's for protecting them if they come in contact with something within your case. And yes, I know that might throw off the look a bit, but I've got a solution for you. In the description below, you'll find an STL file for a cap that I actually designed, and you can print it in whatever color you want and just apply it to the outside of these connectors. And these right angle connectors, well, they work perfectly with the next thing I wanted to talk about, and that is this little medium-sized guy. This is the Cooler Master ELV8, and I know what you're thinking. It's a simple GPU anti-sag bracket, but it's got a couple more tricks up its sleeve that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I've tried all sorts of the ones from Amazon and AliExpress, and let's be honest, the quality and the construction and the RGB uniformity is all over the freaking place. It's so frustrating. Some are good, some are bad, most are terrible. This one, on the other hand, it's well built. It doesn't have any problems holding up super heavy GPUs, even though it's horizontally constructed, and the RGB looks great too, with an even glow and vivid colors. Plus, add in those right angle connectors that I was just talking about so the GPU cables don't get in the way, and it's like a match made in heaven. I also want to give a quick shout out here to the Lian Li GB001 and GB002. You might not know about these, but if you're in the market for a super stealth bracket that you cannot see behind the GPU, this is the one for you because it attaches directly to the motherboard mounting screws. And moving on to something that's near and dear to my heart, some of you have seen this in previous videos, is the Noctua NA FD1. And look, this thing is absolutely beautiful in its simplicity, and it just works. But you know what else just works? That is Be Quiet's new ARGB fans.
Welcome to the light, where wings fly silent and constantly impress with performance.
What?
The wings of the light have beautiful circular showcase.
I'm just here for some fans.
This diffusion is unlike anything you've seen before.
I mean, I've seen RGB fans before.
Yeah, but these are ARGB from Be Quiet.
You're saying this is their first ARGB fan?
Must be good, right? We have 120s, 140s, high speed, and standard versions too.
There's also the 3-pack with a hub.
That is right. Impress your inner self with the new light wings so you can fly into the Be Quiet light wings. Check them out below.
Anyways, back to the NA FD1. And installation, it simply installs between the case and the top of any of Noctua's L9 series of coolers in order to bring fresh, cool air to the heatsink so it's not choking down on all the hot air inside of an ITX case. It's modifiable in height and made out of foam, so you don't have to worry about vibrations either. The most important thing about the NA FD1 isn't necessarily the fact that it just lowers the temperatures. It actually allows you to lower the fan speeds to get comparable temperatures and achieve an overall quieter build. It's simple, effective, everything that you would possibly want in a relatively inexpensive item that is, yes, very narrowly focused on a subset of low profile coolers. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is something that might look like a basic PCIe to Wi-Fi adapter, but it's actually not. This is even less expensive than you're used to because it actually doesn't come with the Wi-Fi card. This one is just the bare bones adapter, and you can populate it with any A or AE type Wi-Fi card. Now, why is this important? Look, I know there's plenty of cheap pre-built Wi-Fi cards out there, and some of them are actually pretty good. But I love this one because it's allowed me to basically yank Wi-Fi modules from dead notebooks I was going to be recycling anyways. I then install them onto the card, and boom, I can give a desktop system that doesn't have wireless connectivity, both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, for less than 25 bucks Canadian. Look, extending the life of components might not be something you all do that often, but it's a pretty big deal to me. And speaking of extending the life of components, I want to give a very quick shout out to this Sabrent USB to SATA adapter. This thing has saved my bacon so many times at home, in the office, even while on vacation. I've got to talk about this. This thing allows you to use an older hard drive or SSD as an external drive in a pinch, or simply diagnose problems you might be having with an internal drive. And look, no, you don't want to be raw dogging it with a spinning hard drive in your bag while you're going from place to place, but for an SSD, it's actually perfect for an external drive. I mean, sure, the cable isn't all that flexible and it's a bit too long for laptop use, but it's hot swappable, plug and play, and it doesn't need any drivers whatsoever. And staying on that storage theme is something that when I brought it into the office, everybody was like, holy shit, this thing is perfect for external drives. And it is the Silverstone ECP01. And yes, I know Silverstone, it seems like they have every single adapter under the face of the planet, and they actually do if you go on their website. But this one, it really hit home when I brought it here. With this thing, you can power pretty much any external device that uses 12 volt DC power up to 5 amps and comes equipped with a barrel style connector. It also has 5 volt USB power delivery, so right in parallel, you can recharge a device. Unfortunately though, there's no USB data pass through here. Installation is an absolute breeze too. You just pop it into a case's expansion slot, plug in either a Molex or SATA power connector, install the included power cable between the ECP01 and the device that it's powering, and that's it. It doesn't even take up a PCIe slot, but watch out where you put it, since the Molex connector can be blocked in some situations. But with this, you can power those external drives like this MyBook Duo without needing to plug in a bulky power brick, because it gets its power directly from your PC instead. And speaking of power, I need to tell you about this thing. Now, this might look like your basic garden variety of fan controller fan hub, but it isn't. It's got a couple more pretty cool tricks up its sleeve. The first of those being is that it is more affordable and better built than a lot of the brand name ones that are bumping around the internet right now. Take, for example, this Cooler Master one that I've got right up here. That thing is more than double the price of this, and it only supports less than 1/2 the overall current. Not only that, there is no overcurrent or undercurrent protection on this Cooler Master one. This one, it's got it. And it's got a couple of other things too. First of all, this splitter allows you to pass your motherboard's PWM signal through to the 6 4-pin fan headers. Just make sure the PWM is set in the BIOS first, because if you don't, all the fans will run at 100% all the time because it's detecting a DC signal. Remember that a lot of the downvotes for this product are based on that one simple setting that needs to be changed in the BIOS. This also acts as a pass-through for 3-pin ARGB signals, so you can control up to 6 different RGB devices at the same time. Look, I've tried it with ASUS and MSI motherboards, and it didn't have any trouble whatsoever. Either way, if you can find this thing, it's totally worth it. And the fact that it's SATA based instead of Molex, that's what really sells it for me. Now, if there's one thing that I wish they had improved, that's the adhesive backer. I've installed this thing now into 6 or 7 systems in the last year, and in about 2 of the cases, if I remember right, it started to peel off, probably because the adhesive backer isn't quite up to the task of holding on in high heat environments. But other than that, this thing is absolutely perfect. Now I wanted to move on to something that is probably going to be really important for people who want to move an older system into a newer case. It's sort of like give your system a little fresher look. So meet the CP14E. What it does is convert an internal USB 3 19-pin port into a 20-pin USB 3.1 port. And that port is ready for front panel USB-C connections at up to 10 gigabits per second. I'm not too crazy about the way it just hangs off your motherboard in some situations, but if there's a vertical connector, it's just fine, and on ITX boards, the cable avoids your memory slots altogether. Now look, the reason why I love this, and I'm a fan of it, is because it keeps with the KISS concept. Keep it simple and stupid, and I guess this is KISSA because it's also affordable. Now, speaking of fans, the next thing I wanted to talk about is these little itty bitty, teeny tiny 40mm Noctua fans. These are the NF A4x10s, and you've been seeing me use them in a ton of ITX builds. So let me explain exactly why. First of all, they come with a ton of mounting accessories. So while they're small, finding a place for them isn't that hard at all. And if you're comfortable printing 3D brackets like I did on my Sentry build update I did a little while ago, you can stick them just about anywhere for better cooling. And look, you might be worried about them being overly loud, but they're not unless they're running at 100%. For their size, they move a ton of air and do so quietly too. I mean, it's Noctua, what did you expect? And sticking with that homage to all my ITX guys out there, I also wanted to bring up the final item in this video, and that is the Silverstone ultra flexible ITX cables. Now, there is a couple of limitations for these. First of all, you're pigeonholed into the Silverstone ecosystem. You need to buy a Silverstone power supply for these to be compatible. Number two is the fact that they are a little bit on the expensive side. I know that I said everything in this video is below about the $35 mark. These are right up there, probably $34 for the 24-pin cable and a little bit less for the 8 pins, and the 6 pins. They all have to be purchased separately. It does get a little bit expensive, but what you get for that price is such a reduction in the headaches when it comes to cable routing in an ITX system, in those little itty bitty corners where you're cussing and cutting yourself and just hating your life because you've got these rigid ass cables from other manufacturers. These come in clutch. Anyways, that is pretty much it for this cool PC components and accessories that you may or may not have ever heard of. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of a look into some less expensive items that you can pop into your upgrades, your new builds, or just to freshen up your existing system. But if you know anything else that we can include in some of these videos, that comment thread down there, that is your best friend. Get to typing. Let us know what you've got in the back of your head. Or if some of these items you say, Mike, you're completely out to lunch, put that in there too. Until the next time, I'm Mike with Hardware Canucks. I hope you enjoyed this one and have a great day.